Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here to talk about a discographic rarity. Charles Mackerras' Orfeo and Euridice, or Gluck's Orfeo and Euridice, or however you want to do it. Say it however you want. We all know what we're talking about, don't we? It's on Vanguard with the Vienna State Opera, Orchestra and Chorus, with Maureen Forrester as Orfeo, Teresa Stich-Randall, yes, as Euridice, or Euridice, and Hanny Steffek as Amor. Very nicely sung, beautifully sung. But today, people would say that this performance is dated, that it is no longer au courant. It isn't in the correct style. First of all, it's a mixed version of the opera. You know, it's not just the Italian version or just the French version. It's actually a sane version, because who the hell wants to hear just the Italian version without the Dance of the Furies or the Dance of the Blessed Spirits or that fun aria for Orfeo at the end of the second act or whatever it is? There's nothing wrong with mixing versions, especially from a practical performance perspective, to do something that suits the singers. And if the result is a really good performance, and it is here, then good, do it. That's what intelligent editorship is all about. It's not about mindlessly adhering to, stale theories of scholarly rectitude. I mean, it just isn't. I mean, these are living works, and so Mackerras was always wonderful that way. Nobody was more interested in scholarly probity than he was. But when it came to the actual performance on the night, on the stage, putting together a production, it was theater. Theater, baby, theater. And what we get here is theater. Now, the ensemble, of course, is not period instruments, but it's played with the piece is played with crispness and liveliness. Some people would say the tempi are far too slow. Oh my goodness, then they would be played today, or that it would be conducted today. That is probably true, and I don't care, because, the morning choruses at the beginning, the lamenting and all that. The Furies have weight, let them lament. What the hell? He doesn't have to zip through the lamenty part. It's really very interesting. I have no patience for criticism or scholarship which is only which talks about these things as though it's last week's clothing. This is the performance in a polyester leisure suit with bell bottoms, such as I wore at my bar mitzvah. Whoops, this is 1966. I get it. I get it. There are certain stylistic things or changes that are sometimes to the good, sometimes not. But as I've always said, greatness is its own justification. A good performance is a good performance. And the stylistic parameters may bother some, but they don't bother me. Anyway, I just thought it would be interesting as an adjunct to mentioning this really rarely remarked upon performance. Mackerras was an amazing opera conductor, and he did all those opera and English things. His operatic legacy is so weird, wonderfully weird, actually, because you've got him doing all of the English stuff on Chandos, and then all the Janáček operas, and then this, and it's really kind of fascinating. It really is. But anyway, I located a review of his Met debut in 1972. It was in Orfeo, reviewed by Harold C. Schoenberg for the New York Times. And I just wanted to share it with you because it's so much fun. It's a really fun review, starring Marilyn Horne, by the way. So here we go. You ready? Gluck's Orfeo ed Euridice returned to the stage of the Metropolitan Opera on Tuesday night. This was, when is it? It was Tuesday night, November. Oh, the review is November 2nd, 1972. Okay. And there was nothing anybody in the new Met administration could do about its reappearance. Rudolph Bing had scheduled it some time ago, even though it was one of the unhappiest productions of his last season. This is the choreographed version of the opera, with the chorus operating from the orchestra pit. The choreography looks as bad as ever, and the dancers even worse. But this performance had at least two excuses for being. Marilyn Horne sang her first Orfeo at the house, and the British conductor Charles Mackerras, he's British Australian, right? Anyway, Charles Mackerras, American, if you really want to get down to it. British conductor Charles Mackerras was making his debut. It was his Met debut, yeah. Mr. Mackerras is musical director at Sadler's Wells and a frequent guest conductor around the world. If there were no changes in the production itself, which there could not be short of tearing everything up and starting over, there were plenty in the musical presentation. When Richard Bonning was the conductor, he went heavily into an 18th century musical reconstruction, adding all kinds of appoggiaturas and ornaments. Mr. Mackerras has dropped most of this, though he has retained the harpsichord. He also added a bravura aria from the French version of 1774. Doubtless Miss Horne had a say in this. Miss Horne was not in her best voice at the Tuesday Orfeo at Euridice. She sounded tired, and the voice had a spread and an edginess not normally heard from this great singer. There were moments, of course, when the voice took on the typical Horne coloration, but elsewhere there were pitch troubles, a rough-sounding production, and a general feeling of discomfort. In the first act coloratura aria, Miss Horne attempted a bravura attack without being able to handle all the technical problems. She made only vague passes at a trill and was not too accurate in the rapid passage work. Perhaps the tempo was too fast. A slightly slower pace would have given her a chance at better articulation. Then there was the matter of Miss Horne's costume. She wore a dress that looked like a downtown department store special, knee-length with a cape over the shoulders. She also was wearing high-heeled shoes. When she set out to fetch Euridice back, Miss Horne looked for all the world like a Brooklyn matron off to a PTA meeting. The talented Judith Blagan sang with style and beauty of voice as Amore. Her well-placed voice had no trouble filling the house. As Euridice, Lillian Sukis produced some exceptionally sweet sounds, though here and there she was drowned out by the orchestra. Mr. Mackerras made a good impression. With his brisk tempos, has Kay Faro ever sounded that fast? Firm rhythm and well-coordinated approach, he sustained the line of the music. But why the harpsichord tinkling desperately in the distance? The point of the harpsichord in the Gluck ensemble is to reinforce the harmonies. Either bring the instrument up to parody. No, that's bad. Don't do that. Or forget about it. Mr. Mackerras otherwise had the orchestra playing enthusiastically for him, and his obviously is a skilled, practiced hand. So yeah, there's Mackerras making a successful Met debut and a crappy production with some tough singing on the night. I'm sure that got better. But anyway, and here we have the recording of his conception of the work. Lovely, well sung, sprightly conducting of its type, not of perhaps today's period instrument type, or the way maybe Mackerras would do it today, because he was always willing to change his conception and listen to the way things sounded when done differently. But I enjoyed this very much, hearing it again after all these years, and you may well too. So there you have it, my friends. Keep on listening. Thanks for joining me, and take care.